Hey! The Depp versus Heard. 3 episode series about 15 minutes each on Netflix. So I was in the bus coming home and noticed Depp versus Heard trending number 1 in Canada. I didn't watch the whole trial, but I kinda know what happened, who did what, and who won. So since I thought this would go through the whole trial from beginning to the end, might as well watch it. Sounded interesting to me. Well, let me tell you, it is more like media versus Depp and Heard. I'll explain more later. So it's divided into 3 episodes. First episode called Truth on Trial. This episode briefly goes over how this whole thing started, how Johnny Depp and Amber Heard met, and also contains some parts of the well-known incidents about like the feces on the bed and stuff. But like the half of the video is about different reactions by the media. But it didn't bother me at all, and made sense to me at first because this was one of the most popular celebrity trial, and it was fair to see how people reacted to this. So first episode ends, and I was like, okay, not what I expected, but I could watch the rest. Now the fun begins in the second episode called Breaking the Internet. So when I saw this title during the opening, I thought because this gained a lot of attention, I expected all these crazy testimonies to appear, and that's why I broke the internet. So I watched this literally about like 4 or 5 hours ago, and all I can remember from this episode was that a brief mention on Johnny Depp's childhood, Amber Heard's like pledge to donating the money, that one, and like the rest of the 40 minutes were just people's reactions on media. So breaking the internet literally meant we're going to show you 10 different videos and reactions of people every time whenever Johnny Depp or Amber Heard say one sentence. And obviously, let me make it very clear that I'm not obviously trying to take a shot at anyone who appeared in the series. I thought it was good to put people's reactions in the first place, since listening to the testimony after testimony would have lost my interest anyways, and I was wondering how people felt when this and that news came out. And like myself, found out how the trial went through watching YouTube videos, and I'm making one myself right now. So it wasn't more like why they put in all these reactions, but it was more like why are we only focusing on the media part instead of the trial, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard themselves. And now we are at the final episode already called The Viral Verdict. I was surprised how I was already at the end of the trial and about like 90% of the first 2 episodes just focus on the media part. But, in the end, the verdict is normally like the ending and everything, conclusion to it all, right? Well, the episode actually started off pretty nicely. Literally, if you just cut the episode in half, the first half, even though there are like few media reactions, it actually focus on some testimony and like verdict, like the trial itself. But if you focus on the second half, it just straight up just focus fully on the media, no break, full throttle. It covered media reactions on both sides, starting with Johnny Depp's side first and then Amber Heard's side after. And at the very end, I don't know about how trials go and how it works, but it mentioned something about these unsealed documents. Apparently, it is something to do with like records that are not shown or released to the public, but I guess it can be viewed somehow. It can be released somehow. It is about like 6,000 pages worth in this trial, apparently, right? So the series ends like Johnny Depp won, but according to the unsealed documents, there's some dark truth, and he may have only won because of the media. That kind of vibe. I mean, I do believe it's a factor in this trial, and like Johnny Depp isn't like a perfect innocent husband. Obviously, he did wrongs here and there too. But come on, if we compare the job that the Amber Heard lawyers did compared to Johnny Depp's, and so many of these big evidences and testimony from Amber Heard that were proven false or made up, it's more like instead of media influencing the trial, it was more like people's genuine reaction and reflection to the testimonies and the verdict. So after I watched the whole series, I searched up on Google and yep, you guessed it, many different reactions, a lot of media coverages, but it got people talking again, right? And I'm sure people totally forgot about this trial until this was released. So I read that I may be totally wrong and there might be more to it, but these unsealed documents include many hearsay evidences, and also apparently if you appeal from like Amber Heard's side, these unsealed documents can be reviewed, for a possibly new verdict in the second trial. But in the end, both parties settled. Sure, Amber Heard May did not want any more hatred and insults from all around the world, so just wanted to end it here. But considering how herself and the lawyer, especially the lawyer, their interviews were, that can be understood as I disagree with the verdict. People on media, you influenced the trial. Shame on you. Considering Amber Heard had nothing more to lose at that point, she could have appealed for it. And, if the verdict was so unjust and if they had real evidences, I don't know. As I am not an expert whatsoever, I can't say this party did well in here, they did wrong there, this party was right, this party was wrong, but this is how it is right now. Just to sum it up and, not to lose focus on the series itself, I would give this 3 out of 10 because it was just that bad. And that 3 points came only from my interest when it actually showed the trial itself, not all these unnecessary media reactions. So if you're curious to see if you should watch this or not, unless you have free time and have a Netflix subscription like myself, I would highly suggest to just go on YouTube, search Amber Heard vs. Johnny Depp, and watch your favorite YouTuber. As I'm confident, very confident, they will offer much more entertainment, interest, information, reactions, and all that compared to this series.